Whew. Close call. Hey, this is Remy Franklin. I'm reporting back on day 4 of training here in Lander, Wyoming with climbing coach Steve Bechtel. And today we talked about using bouldering as a training method and did a little bit of bouldering in the gym, which was useful. And I think this was a lot of stuff that I'd started to figure out, but it was really helpful to talk to Steve about it. So the first sort of interesting thing that I think I'll change in my bouldering sessions is just incorporating longer warm-ups. And I've started to do this when I go in for a bouldering session. I'll get on the treadmill and jog for 10 minutes, or I'll go outside and jog. And I think this mimics what we do outside, right? We're usually hiking to the crag or to a boulder and have a pretty long time to warm up. Say we do a couple warm-ups on a route or boulders. Again, the warm-up process may last an hour. And I think a lot of us, when we go into the gym, kind of jump right on hard things. We might warm up for 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm trying to get better at doing longer warm-ups, especially as I'm getting older, get injured more. So for me, that will look like some kind of non-specific climbing warm-up, like running, maybe getting on a rowing machine if I'm in the gym. And then doing one of two things for bouldering, either a boulder ladder, where I'm just doing, say, 2 problems of each grade up to my on-site level, or something they talk about in logical progression, which is basically doing boulder problems that add up to like your limit boulder grade. So if that's V8, maybe you do a V0, which counts as V1 or 1 point. So V0, V1, V1, V2, V2, V1, right? So that would be 8. And then do that with like mid-level range, V3, V4, and then with harder problems too, like V4, V5. And in terms of the actual climbing we did today, we started with a few interesting drills on really easy terrain, V1s, V2s, where I was just using one leg to climb, or with one leg I was always doing heel hooks, otherwise I couldn't use that leg. And I thought that was a really interesting way to think about isolating technique movements and also just mixing up a problem, right? Doing the same V1 but forcing myself to do it differently. And then I climbed a few other things, nothing harder than V5, and focused on repeating the problem a few times and improving it each time, thinking about how I could do it better. And I think a lot of us do this either consciously or unconsciously when we're bouldering or working a route. But I think getting in the habit of thinking about these sessions as practice and a chance to repeat a problem and really think about how we can do it better, and making that really deliberate and our main focus when we're in the gym climbing is going to be a big step forward for me in using bouldering as an effective tool for training. And then as sort of a big picture, we talked about 3 types of bouldering sessions that I'll be doing. And so there's limit bouldering, which Steve talks about in logical progression and elsewhere, that I think my friends have started to gain sort of an understanding of, which is just that we're going into the gym and really focusing the session around doing moves at our limit, working problems that we can't do in one session, versus trying to do things that we can send in a few goes. And I think it's really important to incorporate that, because that's how we increase our max power, really push that the limit of our ability. And then another session type for bouldering is going to be sort of technique focused, and that's going to be like at my on-site level, which things like between V4 and V7 for me. And the focus there will be on repeating these problems and really trying to improve the way I'm doing them. And then finally, for sort of a non-power or strength phase and a strength endurance phase, I'll be using density bouldering as a technique. And so that'll be taking, say, 30 minutes, a set amount of time each session, and seeing how many problems I can do, and then adding up all the V sum of that for the session. So if that's 60 V points in 30 minutes one session, the goal over the several week cycle is to increase that total number, basically as a way of working strength endurance. So that pretty much sums up our discussion of bouldering today. Did a little bit of bouldering in the gym, hoping to get out to the crag this evening or go climb around on some boulders when it cools off a little bit, and be back in the gym tomorrow. So check back in. Thanks.